of people on the call. I loved hearing all that dinging, meaning someone's punching in every second on that video. I'm really excited to have all you guys here on this call today. It's an honor to be able to introduce my dad today. These are the times that he has been so excited to be in. You know, I just can't sleep at night. It's so exciting. Without further ado, here is our mentor, my father, our mentor, Papa Kapp. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And Becky, you know that Mom and I are so proud of you, right? That this legacy of ours is now going to flow right through you and all of your children. And I want to say hello to everybody. And you know what? If you don't think that video was true, write this in your notes. Eric Olson's team in the first 2 weeks of April had 1,000 brand new associates. And guess what he told me? Sunday night, Trey, they did a fast start school with only new people on it, and there were 813 new people on it. So you may not feel like we're the biggest financial services company online on the planet, but I promise you it's happening. I don't say these things to you to try to scare you. In fact, I'm going to show you something. My daughter, Becky, taught me how to do this. So let me see. Wait a minute. Oh, I probably can't do it now.
You can do it.
It says share content. And now what do I click?
And then you should be able to go to your pictures.
Oh, photos.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
All right. Does everybody know who that is? That's Jeff Levitan. No, it's not. That's Jeff Bezos back in 1995, and that's how he looked. And he's close to being a trillionaire today. You see, I want you to always think about what Amazon did to the retail and then realize what we're going to do, because retail's only 14 trillion. Financial services, I'm going to give you another one now. You ready? I'm going to be dangerous, Becky, if I ever figure this part out. Now, I want you to look at this. See that picture? That's me. A lot of you don't even know that. That's me and my beautiful wife, Tina. That's my mother 6 months before she passed away. And then there's Beth, seems really well behaved. And of course, there's Becky, who's kind of our wild child. But look, do you realize that the team that my wife and I started, look, we thought we were dressed up on this picture. The team that my wife and I started back in Milwaukee, right? Gary Ziegler, he met me so long ago. Tom Hansen met me so long ago. That team got paid over $1 billion. But what took all these years to get paid $1 billion, I predict will be paid out in the next 2 years just from our team. See, our team will be bigger than all of WFG is today. And you don't have to believe it. It doesn't even matter to me if you believe it or not. So let me see if I can get back to myself. Am I back to myself now?
You're back.
All right. Now, my daughter, Becky, she's kind of tricky. You know, she sold a lot of shampoo in her previous life. She started hair salons down here in Florida. And my wife and I are so proud of her because everyone used to ask me, how come your daughter's not in WFG? And I said, because I don't want my daughter to do what I want her to do. I want my daughter to do what God wants her to do. And see, Becky knew that if she got into business, me being kind of a legendary figure, if she did well, everybody would say, well, your dad helped you. And if she did poorly, they'd say, wow, what a triple L you are, loser. You can't even succeed. So you know what? She wanted to make a name for herself, and I'm so proud of her. And she built, 2 salons here. She was up to $50,000 a month in revenue in those salons, and she was gonna open up 10 of them. And but then she realized, she sees me getting these checks every Tuesday and Thursday, and she said, Dad, Friday, and she said, Dad, I wanna get residual income like you. And so she told me, Dad, I know you got thousands and thousands of agents, and I know you're, closing in on 69, but could you just do a Zoom for my team like every 6 weeks? And I said, sure. Well, then she said to me, I kind of owe Tom Hansen a favor, and I know how much you love Tom. So is it okay if he was to get on and go like, sure. And then she said, well, of course, Trey's usually always on. And then, I kind of owe Armand a favor too. and I owe Deanna a favor, but she's your goddaughter, so I'm sure. And then all of a sudden, Jeff Levitan heard about this, and then he told everybody to get on. So I don't even know who's on, who's not on. But, you know, for the ones I thought were going to be on last night about midnight, I asked them to tell me their #1 recruiting month and their #1 cash flow month. So my daughter Becky had 18 recruits and made $7,400 already in 1 month. Blanca out of Chicago had 21 recruits, made $19,000 in 1 month. I'm saying this because you're all going to be there. Armand McCarroll, 16 recruits, $35,000. I just ask you, how would you feel if you made $35,000 in the month of April? Well, however you feel, you would feel like you got to start feeling that way, because we attract people by our feelings. See, you can't. I used to be broke, but I learned how to feel good, right? Albert, the great Albert, 40 recruits, $43,000 in just 1 month. How would you like to get $10,000 a week? Trey Turner, he's the #1 recruiter on his whole list, had 44 recruits in a month. Do you understand that means he got 44 warm lists? Do you know what it's like to get a warm list of referrals from somebody? In 1 month, he got 44 of them. And he cash flowed over 50 grand. Or as we say in the Kapp household, 50. I'm just kidding. So white guy trying to be a brother. Now, Deanna, one of my godchildren, you know, I got plenty of godchildren on this call. Deanna, Blanca, Albert. Well, Deanna had 21 recruits, 52,000. And then there's Tommy Hansen, 24 recruits and $53,000. You know what? Then there's Ginger, 16 recruits, $54,000. And then there's Gary Ziegler. Marcella, there's only one Gary Ziegler, and you're married to the man. He had 24 recruits in a month, but his biggest pay cycle was $113,000. Now, I'm going to ask you something. You know, Becky, I was just thinking about this. Donna Shepard, I used to call her the Caribbean queen, but I'm going to call her the Mozone queen now. But anyways, what if a year from now, you made $100,000 a month? Well, you're going to have to plant some seeds now. See, I'm going to ask you a question. You have access to Jeff Levitan's 30-minute BPM. You have access to Deanna's great BPM video. You have access to my video. You know, Eric Golson said, I said, man, how you get all these recruits? He said, Greg, we send your video out to everybody, and then we just say, look, watch this 5-minute video, and then we're going to have a talk. And then the video is, I wouldn't even want to send my video out first. It doesn't matter what you do, but I'm asking you this now. We all know that everybody's been home for the last 6 weeks. How many videos did you send out to people? Did you just throw caution to the wind, even to the people you talked to before, and just sent some video out to everyone on your email list? If you didn't, I probably would say you don't know what your why is. You see, if we don't know what our why is, then the how is very difficult. Does everybody get what I say? Once you know your why, see, everyone I just listed here, all your great leaders on the call, and there's a lot of other ones. I know the Stokes team is on this call now. I know Rags is on this call. You know, Sean Ragland is the one that got me these lights, Becky, like a year ago. See, things happen for reasons. I wondered, like, why do I need these lights? Anyway, they're blinding me, right? And now I'm not in a dark space anymore, right? And so I know there's a lot of you on this call. It might even be Jesse and Jason from California. I don't know. But anyway, these were just the people I thought were going to be on. But you know what I'm saying to you? When are you going to let go? When are you going to just let go and crush it? Because that's the difference. In other words, what is holding us back? Because all you need is one brand new associate on your team that's fast started properly. Does that make sense? You're one person away from explosion, right? Trey found Ginger. Look what's happened to his business, right? Albert found Blanca. He was one recruit away from an explosion. Gary Ziegler found Tom Hansen. Does this make sense to any of you? But if you're just trying to make a sale to pay your bills, then you're working in your business and you're not working on your business. See, even when I was broke, I said every morning, I have the 5 leaders I need to be financially free. See, my first goal wasn't like, man, I better make some money or Tina's going to be really upset with me. which was true back then, but she never got upset with me. She always was supportive of me. But do you see my point? Are you working too much in your business, worrying about all your struggles, or are you rising yourself up? Now, you know what that takes? Takes some faith. You see, the people I got on my team that are working on their business, they have faith, but they've developed it a long time ago. See, I'm not talking about a church word when I say faith. I'm talking about the opposite being fear. See, fear is a negative emotional addiction. I used to have it. That's why in my 5th year, I only made $22,000. Does everybody understand why I made $22,000? Because that's how much my self-image was. That's what my identity was. I kept seeing myself the way my parents saw me. I kept seeing myself as a postal worker. Why did I take a job at the post office when I turned 22 years old and stay there for 15 years? Because I had a low self-image and a low identity. But I started hanging around with high identity people. And then you know what happened, Deanna? My self-esteem started to raise and started to change. So I got rid of my fear because I realized it was a negative emotional addiction. You see? And most people don't know they have fear. That's why they quit WFG. If you want to know why we have so much turnover in WFG, have you ever asked yourself that? Because most people in America have a negative emotional addiction called fear. I'll give you a good example. You could take a surgeon that makes $1 million a year right now, but he's very shy and introverted. And let's say his wife is like my daughter. She's real outgoing. She loves to go to parties, and he hates to go. So every time she got a party lined up, he says, you know what? I really have a stomach ache, right? And then when she finally gets to the party, there's Becky. Hey, how you guys doing? And there's the doctor. Hi. The other guy goes, hi. And then he goes like, how are you? And the other guy goes, fine. And then he goes like this. He's so out of his comfort zone. He goes, I got to go to the bathroom. And then after about 20 minutes, he says to his poor wife, we got to go. So do you see what I'm saying? The doctor has a high self-image when it comes to being a surgeon, but he's got a low self-image when it comes to dealing with people. So once I found out it was an addiction, I said, okay. See, people take, if you know a drug addict, they can't hide it from us over time. If you know an alcoholic, they can't. But see, I could got away with nobody knowing that I had fear. So when I say faith, see, people that are working on it, people that are just saying, look, I'm just going to let it rip. I'm just thinking way too much. See, thinking too much is another form of fear. So I just want to be real with everybody on this call. And so I want to give you guys an example, because I don't know what happened, Becky, but I went from being out of favor to like right back in favor, and it happened during the shutdown. So I used to present the business, and I always called their best friend right away, and everyone in the company was like, what does Kapp do? We can't figure out how he wrote up over 300 insurance sales in a year. He's not even that technical. He doesn't seem to have all the answers. He doesn't even seem to be able to explain the compensation program, right? But how did he do it? Because what I do, I presented the business. If they said no, I filtered them. They're gone. I can't remember them. Now, see, some of you don't do that. You wonder, why don't they like it? Why doesn't my brother-in-law like it? Why not? Why not? Why? They keep talking to him all the time, and they get more mad at you. See, I just presented it very quickly, and if they said no, I went like that, Albert. If they said yes, I started talking about calling their best friend, because I didn't have the fear that they would think I was trying to get in their market. See, that's where a lot of you have you're thinking too much. I didn't think about it when Jeff Levitan joined me. I just said, look, Jeff, you don't know me, I don't know you. And you know what? I don't even know if you're in the right market or not. So you know what? I want you to get me in front of 10 people that are married, kids, and a job in the next 10 days. And don't tell them anything to get them here. And then I'm going to get to know you a lot better, but you're going to get to know me a lot better. And then you know what? If you want to, after a week, go your own separate way. That's how I brought in Jeff Levitan. But you know why? Because I took it away. It didn't seem too good to be true to him. So my point is this. When I started, when WFG started, there she is right there on my screen. When I started WFG, I already shut down my office in Milwaukee, and I already moved down to Florida, and I already had no base shop. So I heard one of my great leaders say, you know, our hiring interview is 2 hours long. And Donna, I thought to myself, what do they do for 2 hours? My hiring interview was calling your best friend. If it took me 2 minutes, I did it in 2. If it took me 10 minutes, because why? I knew that my new associates were skeptical. And when people are skeptical, they start searching for why it's too good to be true. But as soon as I got them a new associate, Trey, they went to being coachable. And so I said to myself, maybe WFG is more complicated, because it was, than our former business. So I didn't say anything, because I really don't intervene a lot. I'm not that way as a mentor. And then this person had a contest, and they said the top 5 people in this contest get to go to lunch with the great legendary Ed Milet. So these 5 people that won the contest, that would Ed. And they said, Ed, when you hired a new person, did you get like the top hot 3? Or did you get like a top 10? Or did you try to get 100? And Ed looked real puzzled. He said, isn't Greg Kapp one of your uplines? And they said, leaders? And they said, yeah. And he said, you know, the guy that scared me the most was Kapp. Because Kapp somehow could borrow a relationship, turn a stranger to a friend, and then people would trust him so much that he would be able to call their best friend immediately. And he said, maybe you should ask Kapp that question. And then, Becky, I went from being out of favor to back in favor. But you know what? It's more important to understand that part now, because we're in Zoom. That's why Brian Batter's going to be at 150 recruits this month. He's already at like 82 or something when I talked to him yesterday. Well, Brian Batter wasn't doing that before, but you know what? I remember when we were on a big, we were in a thing in Bakersfield, and there was like, he brought like 20 people from the East Coast. And they said, hey, Greg Kapp's got to get to LAX, and Bakerfield's, you know, hour and a half away, I think. And they said, hey, well, can we take Greg in our van? And I got in a van. It's like, really, it seemed like there was 20 people in there. But they kept saying, Greg, I mean, tell us how you did a presentation in 5 minutes. Tell us how you transitioned to a fast start. And then tell us how you tackwooded those legs like 30 and 40 deep. And you know what? They told me it was from that talk that Zoom taught him to do it. Now, Brian Batter was one person away from explosion because he's got a guy named Anthony on his team, who's now my godson. And Anthony's going to have 75. He's only an MD. He's going to have 7,500. So what I'm saying to you is, you don't know that you're just one person away from having an explosion, but you got to know what to do with that person. So you know what? I know that Becky got several questions from people, and I don't want to, you know, I could tell stories. I've been doing this for 34 years. I can tell stories forever. I hope some of you caught what I just said, though, because here's my point to you. In fact, Becky, I got to tell another story. This is what grandpas do. That can never be taught. It can only be taught. You see, Trey's been teaching all you what to do. He's a good example, right? So has Deanna, right? So has Albert. So is Tom and Gary. They're teaching you what to do. Art Williams told me what to do. The first day, he said, Greg, you recruit, and then you fast start, and then you field train, 5 easy sales, and then you tap it in a new market, and you do that over and over again until somebody figures it out. Did everybody hear what I say? See, I'm talking to some newer people right now. He said to me, on the first day, he told me this, well, why didn't I catch it? He said, Greg, you recruit people. And he said, you recruit people by transferring a feeling. That's a good one right there that came back to my mind. I haven't said that one for years, Becky. Recruiting is transferring a feeling. Then he said, you what? You immediately call their best friend to lock them in, and then you go write up 5 easy training sales. So when I did that with Jeff. I brought in his brother Brian, and then I wrote up his mother, and I wrote her up in about 30 minutes. I wrote up his father quickly. I wrote up his brother. I wrote up his best friend Joe, and I wrote up a coworker. And then I matched Jeff up with other people in my office, and Tom Hansen and Gary Ziegler know exactly how this happened. I didn't help him after that. I built him a leg. And then I challenged him to go build a leg himself as I built the first leg. So Art Williams told me what to do. Why didn't I do it? Because I had a poor self-image. You can't catch the answers in life unless you have a high self-image, unless you got a high identity. And that's why I've worked on my self-image and my identity every day. That's why I'm proud of my daughter. My daughter will be a 7-figure earner, I promise you, because she's working on herself. Every day she's getting out of her comfort zone. Now, there's an example right there. If you're not moving out of your comfort zone, then you didn't grow that day. See, when you're comfortable, you have to say to yourself, I'm in a comfort zone right now and I'm not growing. Zoom was very uncomfortable for me. I thought it would show a triple chin or something. Now, I love it. I love it. So here's the point I was going to make. Recently, I took my Mercedes to a dealership, and it was like a quick thing they had to do. And I started engaging with a salesperson. I said, hey, if you sold a $50,000 Mercedes, how much would you make? And the guy said, kind of proud. He said, I'd make about $400. Now, Albert, he has to sell a $50,000 car and make $400. You know why? Because on the internet, everybody can find out the cost of a car now, so it's not that hard to sell them. In fact, they're selling cars online now. So probably car salesmen will be, out of the way here soon too. So why is it in WFG that if you can get a family to give you $100 a week to put in an IUL, and the average family in America makes $40 grand a year, so they should be saving 10%. You should be getting 10% of their money and saving it for them. Well, that's $100 a week. And you know what? If a part-timer, right, Blanca, writes up an IUL for $100 a week, they're making $2,500 and they're getting residuals. If an SMD writes one up, they're getting $3,500. Why, if I only get a check, if I get someone to commit to $400 a month, are they going to pay me $3,500? Plus, I get residuals the rest of my life. Do you know I wrote up my brother, Tom Hansen, on a $300 a month VUL, and I've been getting paid on it for 30 years now. I've been getting paid on every sale I ever wrote up over and over again, but not just the ones I wrote up, all the ones Jeff Lahoviak and Jeff Levitan and Mike Stokes and Trey and Deanna, right? When you build a team, you don't just get paid on the efforts you're doing yourself. You get residual income from every person that's on your team. Do you see why you're going to recruit people who own hotels pretty soon? You're going to bring in people that own 10 McDonald's pretty soon. You're going to bring in accountants. You're going to bring in CPA firms. You're going to bring in professional athletes, but it's not going to happen unless we raise our self-image. So Becky, I'm going to go to you and you give me those questions. So I want to make sure, because it's halfway through and I want to answer some questions.
Awesome.
So go ahead.
So I polled the crowds and I got about 10 good questions to ask you from all over Legacy. The first one, and this is coming from one of our teams. Many people on our team are struggling with the objection of this sounds too good to be true. So how did you handle this objection?
This is too good to be true. Did you guys see my picture in the beginning? Do you know my team is going to do about 250 million points in the next 12 months. That's more than 95% of insurance companies. But no one knows who I am except in WFG. So here's why. It's always going to seem too good. Our products seem too good to be true, and our business seems too good to be true. And there's only one way to handle that objection. You've got to take it away. And you know what? You have to have a high self-image. See, when people beg you to get in something, don't you say to yourself, there's something fishy with this thing, right? When someone's begging you for 3 hours about how great the IUL product is, don't you say to yourself, if this thing was so great, wouldn't they be busy right now? So the only way you can learn to take it away, to come up with, overcome that objection, is take it away. See, I think you can all tell how gorgeous my daughter is, right? And guys used to hit on her all the time in Milwaukee. And you know what she'd say to them? Get away from me, right? And then she'd turn away on the other side. And then she'd say to herself, that guy was pretty good looking. And then she said, I hope he comes around the other side, because she took it away. And then the guy came around the other side of her chair and said, hey, a lot of girls regret the fact that they never went out with me. And she goes, you're not even funny. Then she turned on the other side and said, wow, he's good looking and he's funny. I hope he comes back again. Why? Because that's the secret. All you women know what I'm talking about right now. The guys are lost right now. Jeanette, all you women know this stuff. Now, so do you see what I said to Jeff Levitan? I wasn't begging him to get in. I said, Jeff, you're 24. You're not in the right market. I'm going to give you a break. Normally, I wouldn't do this. I said it to a lot of people. I said, I took it away. I said, look, doesn't this look too good to be true? That's what I said. Then they would go like this, it does. I said, here's why it's not. Because 1 out of 10 people that I hire follow our system, and 9 out of 10 don't follow it and they fail. And I don't know if you're going to be like the 1 or if you're going to be like the 9. And then right then, Trey, you know what I did? I Socratically got them, instead of thinking it's too good to be true, they said, well, what is the system? To themselves. Do you see? One thing Jeff Levitan said about me, he said, Greg, you were always 3 questions ahead of everybody. He said, they had no idea that you were playing chess and they were playing checkers. So see what your questions, I'm always like, so when I say, you know what? I don't know if you're going to be like the 1, like your good friend, Ginger, and I don't know if you're going to be like the other 9 and fail. And then I say, do you know what? Do you know what the system is? Is that you cannot be both the trust and credibility. So I use this with Trey. I say, Trey, you know that Ginger, you love this woman. You've known her for a long time. She's the godmother to your children. But did you notice she didn't say anything in this presentation? Because she's the trust and I'm the credibility. So if you call what's your best friend's name first? No, that's how I got the best friend's name out right away. And then Trey would say, Jeff Levitan. I say, is he married? Yeah, he's married to Cam, got 5 kids. And I say, see, if you call Jeff yourself, then you're going to fail. But you're not just going to lose Jeff. You're going to lose Jeff's entire market. Does Jeff know a lot of people? Oh, Greg, Jeff knows a lot of people. I said, but you know what? If you can get him on the phone with me right now, so just dial his number, and only 3 things can happen on this call. Number 1, he doesn't answer. Then in your own way, Trey, go, Jeff Levitan. I know you're by your phone. Pick it up. I got something really important to say to you. Call me back ASP. That's what you say if he doesn't answer. And guess what we did? We made Jeff very curious. He never got a call like that from Trey. I said, if he does answer, you just say, Jeff, listen, I got to make this quick. You got 2 minutes right now? Sure. You got to talk to my mentor, Greg. Then I get on the phone and I say, Jeff, don't you dare blame Trey. I made him call you because he told me you're a man of your word and you got good people skills. So I'm looking for people like that. And I said, and then if he says, no, I'm not interested, then I immediately go like this because I'm not even talking to Jeff anymore. See, I had no fear, Donna, of the phone call. If they didn't answer, I got a great one in there from his best friend. If he did answer, I got a 90% chance of recruiting him and writing him up. And if he says to me, you know what, Greg, I'm being audited by the IRS, I can't do it now, then I would exactly respond like this. You know what, Jeff? Maybe that's better. Because see, Jeff's confused, right? Because I'm not talking to Jeff, I'm talking to Trey. See why I play chess? Some of you guys are going, man, for a guy that's almost 69, this guy. So I said, you know what, Jeff, maybe that's better because down the road, as Trey learns where he can get you some brochures, some websites, and then worst case, he can pass his business card around. And Jeff's going like, yeah, whatever, and he hangs up. Then I go like this, Trey, give me 5. Give me 5. Guess what? He said down the road, he'd give your card around. Now, you can't do that with the 20th name on a list. Does anyone now see how I drove a leg 4 deep in one night, just dropping by people's houses in Milwaukee? Can anyone see how I had a leg that was 38 deep? Well, I'm telling you, maybe you didn't have to do it in WFG, but if you don't want to fall behind, you're going to have to get better at saying things quicker and getting to the point quicker. And you know what? You are Amazon 1995. I don't think you realize that. Some of you do. I can tell by your numbers, some of you do. Look at that Gary Ziegler, 113 grand in a month. Come on. Who wants that? Well, if you're a secret agent, who wants to make 54 like Ginger? 53. Tom, couldn't you make an extra grand to pass up Ginger? Deanna, it hurts me to see you make 52 instead of 55. You would have been number 2 on this call. And Trey, come on now. 50 grand. How do you live on 50 grand in a month? You guys have no idea. My income has exploded. And you know what? My whole team's quarantined right now. All right, what's the next question?
That's awesome. Definitely, I learned taking it away from you, you know, when I started the salon, you know, that really helped me in my business. So, but early on, you know, we didn't understand why my dad was, we didn't understand the quality that my dad possessed. He was out there talking to strangers and just having weird, random conversations when he was newer in the business. And that would be at grocery stores, churches, restaurants, anywhere that he had someone to listen to him, he was building relationships. But it was always held true that he never had an agenda while he was doing that. And then that's really important, right? Because on a few of our calls lately in the last week, we've been talking about not showing that you have an agenda, right? And just being genuine. Later I found out that that's how he mastered making friends on appointments, and that he was practicing it beforehand everywhere he went. And that's really how I built my whole salon. And now, I've mastered that, and now I'm here with you guys doing the same thing. So why does WFG put so much focusing on recruiting instead of selling?
Everybody has that question for us, right? But see, you have to realize that if you're not recruiting in any business or organization, you're dying. You see, in life, you're either growing or you're dying. So does the military recruit people? Does anybody say, why does the military keep recruiting people, right? Do colleges recruit kids? Yeah. Does McDonald's keep recruiting people? Yeah. Because there's turnover, people change their mind, people go into a different kind of a career. So if you study every organization and every business, does your church recruit people? I hope they do. Why? Because if they don't grow, they start to die. So at some point, write this in your notes. You're going to have to cross over a line and say, recruiting is not what we do at WFG. Recruiting is who we are. Now, the reason I love recruiting with people is because if right now I went to the grocery store and I said to someone, hey, do you have MCP on your retirement plan? And they went like, what's that? And I said, man, I got it on my retirement. And you know what? When the market tanked, my money was stable. And now the market's going up again. This is really true. All my investments, they're going up again. And I said, I never lose money in my retirement plan, but when the market goes up, it goes up. And then they said, what is that? I said, it's market correction protection. Well, now I gave it all away. See, I would never do that, but I'm giving you a bad example. And then I'd say like, well, why don't you give me your phone number and then I'll call you. Well, see, they're going to say, man, the guy was all excited because he probably makes a lot of money selling me the product, so he doesn't answer his phone anymore because I didn't tell him what's in it for him. Is everybody catching me right now? But if I said to him, man, it must be rough going through this quarantine, huh? Every time I get too close to people in the store, they freak out about me, right? My daughter says, Dad, you keep forgetting. And I say, but you know what? In our business, if you're referring clients to us, you can make like $1,000 or $2,000 a month on a referral. And I'm going to tell you right now, everybody needs it, but nobody knows about it. Now, what's the difference between the two approaches? Now I'm talking about what's in it for them. That's why I always use that first, but I got to the point real quickly with them. Do you see that? I immediately, when I was done with my 5-minute presentation, I always said, Trey, what are you more interested in with Jeanette? Are you more interested in learning how to introduce us to people like Ginger's doing and make some great part-time, spare-time money? Or are you more interested in learning how these products work? Because I sold the dream of the IUL and the dream of the annuity inside my presentation. And if he said, Greg, how can you get those great rates of return, yet you get guarantees on the money? I said, Ginger, she can't even sleep anymore because she's so excited. And I said, you know what, let's set up a time tomorrow when we can do a Zoom presentation with you and Jeanette. I'll explain it to you. Man, I'm expecting to close a sale on the next appointment. Now, write this in your notes. You get what you expect. So that's my point about recruiting. You're just going to have to come to that conclusion. And I'm going to tell you something. It takes a high self-image to realize why. Becky was constantly recruiting at her salon because she found out that some of her girls were not good hair cutters. They were good at the hiring interview, but they couldn't cut hair. So she had to go get another one. Then she had some that blew off her clients, so she had to get rid of them. And I noticed that Becky was always, even though she had a salon with limited chairs, she's always looking for somebody. She could always use somebody new on her team. So you have to realize that all businesses recruit. Give me the next question.
That's so funny because I never think of the recruiting part. I only taproot my clients, but it is true. I was always out there looking for the next best stylist, right? Somebody who was a tractor, right? And that's exactly what we're looking for here.
Hey, Becky, you know what I figured out? We're going to be a great father-daughter team one day on CBS and NBC. Go ahead now.
No, we're Zoom famous.
Yeah, Zoom famous.
So, I was remembering the other day when, Uncle Al is our office manager still to this day. He helps my dad so much. He lives a mile from us. but he managed my dad's office, and he was, you know, the security guard. When my dad went in his office to make phone calls, that door was locked and no one was allowed past there because no one could distract him or take him away from his goals of however many calls he was making a day. So, so because of that, someone asked this question. It kind of led me to it. They said, Becky, you told me that your dad recruited over 1,000 people each year for several years. How did he become such a good recruiter?
Because I found out it was going to take care of me and my family, number one. And, you know, write this in your notes, right? I said it before. Recruiting is transferring a feeling. So, see, I used to not feel good. When, you know, my feelings would go up and down like the stock market, and I let my feelings control me. And at some point, I realized this, and I just made a statement. I'm not moved by how I feel. I'm moved by what I believe, and I believe I feel great right now. So that's the first thing. Because when you feel good, right, I'm telling you right now, Armand, when you feel good, your team knows no one's going to tell you to go prospect. You're just the talking machine, right? You know, I remember when Armand's son, his twin sons, and Josh, they became very close because they'd always be at our big events together. And I still remember this, Armand. One time they were kind of fooling around outside the building, and Trey snuck up behind a tree. He goes, "Hey, boys, what are you doing?" And they were like, this, and he goes, "I'm telling your dad, I'm telling your grandpa what you guys are doing, right?" And then he goes, "I'm just kidding." Man, I got so many good memories with all of you on this call. I mean, man, I remember when I stood up for Gary and Marcella's wedding, and Tom Hansen couldn't be a groomsman unless he got a promotion first. Man, I'm just, you know, there's so many of you on this call. You know, I have such great memories of the Stokeses, right? We were going to buy a new house, and we took them over there and showed it to them. We never bought that one. We bought even a bigger one. But I'm telling you, I've had so many great relationships with so many of you on this call. And I forgot the question, but here's what it is. If you want to be a master recruiter, you have to do it Socratically. Now, what does that mean? You have to get the prospect to think it's their idea. Everybody got that one now? So here's what you do. If the prospect says, "There's money being made here," that's the first of 3 keys. Now, what does that mean? If you start talking to someone later today and you go like, "You know, there's this guy, Greg Kapp, and the guy was like a postal worker, and he's very shy, and now he makes tens of millions of dollars," they're going to say to you, "I don't care." Does that make sense? If you say, "Did you know that Albert made $43,000 in a month?" That's not going to get to him. But here's what you say to people. You know, there's a nurse that works out of our office. She passed her test in 5 weeks, and her first check was about $800. You see, because they see the companies that don't make any money, they're always telling all these stories to people. You got to get to the point quick, because this is what people are saying to themselves on Zoom. If you don't get to the point quick, I'm gone mentally. I'm not even here anymore. So you got to get to the point quick. So you immediately say, "Listen, you know, we got a nurse in our office." That's why you should, on these Mo zones, you should always ask everybody, "Hey, when did you get in? How long did it take you to pass your test? And what was your first check?" Now, if someone says 22,000 on my first check, I would throw that out. I wouldn't even use that one. But if someone says, you know, my first check was $81, I wouldn't use that one either. I'm looking for examples, $500, $600, $800. That's the first thing they got to say. There's money being made. Number 2, they have to say these are good, unique products and good people. Why? Because when you say you're in financial services, everyone knows you can Google any area code and come up with 25 companies right around you. So I say to people, we can do anything here, from putting $50 a month away for child's education up to rolling over a 401k plan for the biggest companies in Ohio. But we got this one product that like hardly nobody in Ohio knows about. And I would talk about the concept of the IUL to make it sound like good, unique products. And then the good people part, that's you. Look in the mirror. Look in your Zoom. If you're likable, they're going to like you. If you're not likable, they're not going to like you. Do you know when I met Jeff Levitan? He may be on this call right now, because his base shop's on the call. Welcome to Levitan Base Shop to this call, by the way. I can't believe how many people are on this thing. Jeff Levitan wasn't that likable. He used to argue with people all the time. See that? But he learned quickly, like, man, Greg don't argue with anybody. I mean, my dad tried to get him in an argument. He just ran away from the argument. Because why? I'm looking for something in common. Because if you disagree with someone the first time you meet them on any, even your body language, right? The first time, then guess what? They don't like you. Because most people got addiction approval. That was a deep one right there. So they got to say money's being made. I'm talking to the people now that want to get to 100 recruits a month. The ones that want to make 7-figure income. Number one, get good at getting people to say there's money being made and get to the point quickly. Get quickly to the point that, hey, these are good things and unique things for people. And then be likable, right? And then the third thing is they got to say, I can do this. You know, I'd get a surgeon to say it. I'd say, look, doc, you're so busy right now with all the work you're doing with this coronavirus. In the beginning, all you got to do is introduce me to your doctor friends. And I'm going to build a hierarchy for you so that when you come out 3 years from now, you're at 7-figure income. I'll take care of that for you. You see, even a doctor needs to hear, all you got to do right now is pass your exam or have your spouse pass the exam or have your adult child pass your exam, because we have to pay to someone that's licensed, and then start introducing me to your doctors. In fact, who's your best friend that's a doctor right now? That's how I became, went from being one of the worst recruiters in the world. You know what I used to do on appointments? You probably don't want to sell insurance, do you? That was my opening line. And people would say, like, hell no. And then I walk out to my car, I said, man, what did I say wrong? I don't even know what I said wrong. No wonder I couldn't sell and I couldn't recruit. But you know what I said? My family deserves this. I don't want to keep saying no to my children. I don't want my wife working in a brewery anymore. I don't want to worry about money the rest of my life. God didn't put me on this earth to worry about money every doggone month. So I said, okay, I'm going to get good at the things they said. Recruiting, and that's not the only thing, fast starting, and then writing up the 5 easy sales. They're almost like Girl Scout sales to me. And then taprooting in a brand new market and doing it over and not teaching it on a whiteboard, just doing it so that the sharp people catch it. And that's why I have 50 CEOs or above on my team, and we'll have close to 75 people here by the end of the year making over 500,000 a year. Why? Because it's not taught. Everyone knows what to do in WFG. It's caught. All right, what's the next question?
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so why do so many people in WFG seem to run out of their warm market referrals when you, Jeff, and Eric always say that you always worked in your warm markets?
Wow, who asked that question? That's a leader right there. I got to figure out. I'm going to ask you later who asked that question.
Came from Tennessee.
Wow, I'm going to give out a big bonus. Okay, I never had to work in a cold market my whole career. Why? Because once I got in a warm market, I stayed in a warm market. Now, here's my point. Everybody makes emotional decisions and then they rationalize them with my logic. So see, if you don't have that paradigm shift right there, then you'll never understand how to stay in a warm market. So I got to say it again slower, because people accuse me, Becky, of talking too fast. That made no sense to me that people make emotional decisions and rationalize with logic, because then what that said to me is I'm out of control of my own self. And if you're technical, this is really going to hurt you in the heart. But you know what? When I saw Tina at the bank, that was not a logical decision, Jeanette. She was the most beautiful girl I ever saw in my life. And I looked to see if she had a ring on, and she didn't have a ring on. But later I found out she's very frugal. And you know what? She never complains. And I found out she was really good at kids. And so I rationalized in my mind, wow, she's really good at kids. See, so my point is this. You have to come to the point at some point to realize every commercial on TV gets you to make a decision emotionally, and then we all rationalize logically, and we do it very fast. So my point is this. If you recruited me today, right, I'd be very excited, especially if I'm in a cold market. But then I go, wait a minute. You know what I mean? You know, I really like that Deanna, but I don't know, there's something shifty about her. I don't know what it is, right? So now I'm thinking it's too good to be true. So now I go Google on the internet. I go like, oh yeah, I see the problem here. And so then, you know, she calls me back. I go, look, I'm really involved with the Girl Scouts of America now. That's a lie, right? So So my point is this: people that when you hire somebody, they're going to be in, but they're going to be skeptical. I call it anting up. They just ante up to get in. They say, okay, it's $100. They ante up, but they're not in yet. And so they're going to be skeptical. And skeptical people generally, as a rule, think it's too good to be true. And whatever you think, you find. So they're going to find somebody out there that tells them something negative. But if you get them a new associate real fast, then they change from being skeptical to becoming coachable. So when I brought in Jeff Levitan's brother, he said, wow, I got my brother in this thing. I better figure out what Greg's doing. See the difference in the two? So because I was very good at what? Recruiting people and then calling their best friend immediately. It was easy for me to get a best friend in because here's what I would say to people. So in other words, let's say it's Albert is good friends with Blanca since high school. When he calls Blanca, I said, Blanca, I know you want to help out Albert. In fact, he told me that one month he couldn't pay his mortgage and you paid 2 mortgage payments for him. See, I'm going to remember a little story like that. So I know you want to help him out, but you may be busy right now, but you could do this spare time on referrals from your home. Do you know that if Blanca is Albert's best friend, I've already got her in mentally there already. Now when I show the IUL concept, because I never get into specifics on my first appointment, or I'm going to get into a disagreement. When I show her the concept, now she's going to even forget that Albert's on the call, and she's going to be like, wow, is there a limit how much money I can put in there, Greg? I said, there's no limit at all. You know what? My friend just wrote up a $50 million one. Yeah, I have someone that just wrote one up. I get to override it. So I'm fired up this day. So my point then is this. See, but then I don't go like that. I don't say, okay, now I'm just going to train Albert and Blanca all day, right? In fact, write this in your notes. Some people on my team are getting addicted to going on Zoom trainings, but they're not contacting anybody in between. But I'm leaving that one out there. So then I immediately say, Blanca, who's your best friend? She goes, oh, Gus. You know, Gus, he's awesome, right? So I say, you know what? Why don't we get him on the phone right now? I do the same thing. Right? I find out that Gus is a deacon at his church, and she says everyone at the church respects Gus. So I say, Gus, the only reason I'm calling you, I didn't ask for a list of names from Blanca. I said, who do you know with a lot of integrity? And man, I thought she's going to build a statue to you when she talked about you, Gus. Gus, I know you want to help out Blanca. You know, you're the godfather to her son, Christian. And I know you want to help her out, but I know you're busy. So maybe, you know, you could be a spare time referral partner from your home, and you could make an extra $1,000 or $2,000. And then you know what? He's like already in already. Now, here's my point. At some point, I crossed over from trying to recruit people, Donna, to they're already recruiting my mind because I was going to the best friend. But if you guys are always in a cold market, you should expect those people to get in and then leave because their whole family's going to say, where did you meet Tom? Oh, I met him at the Burger King. You see? Instead of, I met him through Albert. You know, Gus is telling his beautiful wife, no, I met Greg through Blanca. I hope this is hitting you hard because I'm telling you guys, you all are very talented people. I know so many of you, and there's a lot of new people on here. But we got to get better at that part of it. And that's why Eric Olson has never been in a cold market. He's always in a warm market because he would ask me 100 questions. Greg, tell me how you fast started people. But then he owned what I told him. Everybody catching that? And guess what? That's what Jamie Villalobos did. That's what John Shin did. That's what Dana Lagatuda did. Right? That's what Hannah did. They would always ask me. Levitan learned it on like a week. So do you see the difference? When you're taught something, and I don't care if Jeff Levitan teaches you, and I don't care if Jamie Villalobos teaches you, and I don't care if it's some guy out of Canada on Raj's team, you got to take ownership of it. It's got to become yours. See, this whole fast starting thing, I was just told by my mentor. But at one point, I owned it. And then I started realizing that when I try to recruit someone, then the trying doesn't recruit them. They were already in my mind. It's the same thing. You know, when the money lady is sitting down with me and I got $10 million rolling, I'm scared to death. Deanna, right? We call her the money lady. She knows. Number one, there's nobody better than me to take care of this man's money. Number two, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to call him when things are bad. I'm going to take every phone call that he's got. And you know what? I have access to 200 of the biggest companies in the world, and I know everything about every one of them. and I know the perfect product for Greg Kapp. And because she goes like that, she doesn't try to roll over my money, right, Gary? You're good at this too. She expects me, and that vibration comes out, and you know what? All of my objections flitter away. But if I was with someone that was trying to sell me, then I'd say, you know what? I got to think this over. My wife and I got to think this over. Why? Because one person put out the good vibrations of what? Not trying, believe. That's why you got to believe in these products. If you don't believe in our IUL, I mean, are you kidding me? If I had anyone in celebration right now, give me $200 a month. If they live too long, they're set for life. If they die too soon, their family's set for life. If they get sick, they can access it. And if they want to take some money out to buy a cottage up north on a lake, they can access the money without a penalty. And when they finally start taking it out, when they're 50 or 60, and I don't care if there's $1 million or 50 million, they never get a 1099 the rest of their life. Are you kidding me? But see, I believe in the product, so people bought my belief. See, people can't understand an IUL on one sitting. I've seen Gary Ziegler write up sale after sale because he's a believer. So if you're new, would you please ask your mentor, I don't understand this about the IUL. I don't understand this about market correction protection, because at some point you're going to be like me and realize they're not buying the IUL. They're buying my belief in the IUL. And that's how I wrote up 330 of them the first time I could actually sell a VUL. Wow. That was a lot of energy on that question.
That was money right there, for sure. You know, it makes me remember that our co-brand back in the day used to be called SFL, which meant Set for Life Financial Group, right? And because it just proves that every time he knocked on someone's door with a policy delivered, he knew that he was delivering Set for Life for them, you know? And that was really powerful. My dad won't brag on himself, but I found out that in the 90s, he wrote up over 300 personal life insurance sales per year, you know? And that's big. We always just think that he knows how to just talk on the phone, right? But he knew how to get the pen on the paper and drive those sales and close them all. So that was pretty awesome. What do you think would be the best way to close an IUL on Zoom in today's time?
You know, we're in sync right now. That's what I was just saying. Here's Jeff Levitan said this is the best sales training you ever got. So once again, you have to do it Socratically. What does that mean? So the first thing I do is I would just rip in the savings, right? Because why did I do that? Because I want them to say to themselves, we're not saving enough money. So I'd start off by saying, you know, isn't it terrible that America is the richest country in the world, and we got the worst saving habits of anybody? And if people don't save for their future, Mr. X, they'll never have a future. I said that on every appointment. Why? Because I'm playing chess now, right? Michael Stokes, you do this all the time. So I set them up with, I'm really angry. That's where my emotion came from. Because why? 55% of my message is my body language. So if I said, Mrs. X, isn't it depressing to know how little? I can't do it anymore, right? So you got to do it your own way, though. So first I ragged all over savings, and I got them to say, we're not saving any money. Then the next thing I said is, yeah, but then when you start saving money, you put it in this market, and my God, it's crazy. You know, it goes up 1,000 points one day. And you know what? I don't know about you, but I don't like losing my hard-earned money in the stock market, right? And then I'd say, and then, so now I get them on that, right? So now I'm disturbing them about the stock market. They were never disturbed before, because that's my job as a good salesperson, to disturb them. And you know what? One of the two is always in charge of money. So don't look at the one that starts looking away like there's a ball game coming on soon. I always would look in their eyes, and I could see, you know, if it's Jeanette and Trey, and you know, Trey was a great baseball player, signed with the Mets. He's just thinking about the World Series game, but Jeanette's looking at me like this. I'm talking to her. Does that make sense too? I always knew which one was concerned about money because they focused on me, and I ignored the other one. So then I do what? So I rag all over savings, right? Then in a minute, then I'm all over the volatility. Then I go, and then here's the bad thing, Jeanette. You start saving some money, and now you accumulate some wealth, and when you take it out, the IRS comes and they chop their third or their 40% of it. Isn't that depressing? But I say, I didn't come here to depress you, Turners. you know what? I came with a solution. We have a product that you can put in as $100 a month, you know, $500 a month or 10,000 a month, whatever you want to put away comfortably. You can put money away. It gets you in a savings habit. And then when the market goes up, your money goes up. If it goes up 10%, you get 10. If it goes up 50, you get 50. Now, if it goes up 20, this product is capped at 15 because that's how the company has to make their money. But you're guaranteed you'll never lose your own principal in a down market. So if the market goes up, you make money. If the market goes down, they guarantee your principal. Then when you want to access this money, Trey, because let's say, you know what, you want to buy a home for Kayla. Oh, I hope Kayla's listening right now. And I know you said you want to get the down payment. You can pull the down payment right out of this product, and you can put it back if you want, but you don't have to put it back either. And you're not going to get penalized like you will on your qualified plan. And then when you take all of it out, so Jeanette, what do you want to do when you're 55 and you guys got $2 million in here now? Because you told me you could put $600 a month away. Oh, Greg, I'd love to own a boutique, a ladies' boutique, because I used to work for, you know, Ross and these companies, and they made all the money off of me. I like to have my own boutique. Man, I already know how to sell her now, right? I say, listen, you guys put that $600 a month away. At age 55, you now have that boutique, and you're taking out $10,000 a month in today's dollars. Now tell me, you got a blueprint for that boutique? So you create the problem, and then you got the solution, and then you got to transition into the close right now, because people like to be told what to do. Write that in your notes. Now, if I said to any one of you, hand me your pen right now, you all would hand me your pen. Why? You didn't ask me why I wanted your pen. Because people like to be told what to do, but that's leadership. And so I transitioned from there to listen. I took it away now, right? Because it's going to sound too good to be true. So I'm going to take it away right now and say, listen, Trey and Jeanette, I know this is a great product. I've researched over 200 companies. This is the best company for you. But you know what? I can't promise you a thing today, because you got to get approved medically. And so many thousands of apps are going in right now that they're really scrutinizing people's health. You two don't have any medical problems, do you? And then they go like, well, Trey says, well, I had my toenail removed about 6 months ago. Well, I think that's okay. But I said, listen, let's take the information down today so I can get you approved medically. I'm going to leave this prospectus with you, or I'm going to mail this prospectus to you. You read it. And then you know what? When it gets approved in about a month, then, you know, I'll give it to you. And then if you guys decide you don't want it, they'll cut you a check for $600. And then I would just get on my computer like Lance, and I just say, okay, what's your social security number? Right? And then, well, see what I'm saying? But you got to look like you're doing that 10 times a day. And you can't be with them for hours, because they're going to say, wait a minute. They were on the phone for 3 hours with us. Do they take 3 hours with everybody? Man, you better look like you've been doing it before. And see, I didn't know how to do that, but I made believe I did it. I did it with my brother first. I wrote up, Jeff was my first one I wrote up. I tried this with him. And man, I just started writing up sales. I remember I came over and said, honey, and I just made like, because I made 22 grand the year before that. I said, honey, I just made like 2 grand today with my brother. She goes, are you sure? Are you sure you're calculating right? I go, yes. The next day I wrote up 3 sales. I made like $7,200. I came home and I said, honey, I just made $7,200. Can you imagine? She's like, are you sure you're calculating everything right? Are you doing everything right? I go, yes. And she knew that I was dropping everything off at Al's condo, because he was my office manager at the time. So I couldn't afford an office manager. And so then on the third day, I made like $5,500. And she said, Al, is Greg really doing what he says he's doing? He goes, yeah, he's like dropping off apps here like every 2 hours. So I'm asking you, what are you doing? Are you getting more training? Are you excited about the next Zoom? Write this in your notes. The Zoom training, I don't care who's giving it, is not your destination. It's just a filling station. You should say to yourself, between this Zoom and tomorrow's Zoom, I'm going to make 25 phone calls. That's when I got big in the business. That's why my wife and I made tens of it, because you know what I said? The BPM's not my destination. I don't just go like, oh, I made it to the BPM. I drove through the traffic and got here. No, I said between the BPM on Tuesday night and Saturday, I will make 100 phone calls, because I can't control what anyone else does. Man, I hope this is being recorded. I want to watch it. Go ahead.
This is awesome. Thank you so much. So you know what's really powerful about you is like when you're giving us the rundown of how you would talk to a client. You're in it. It's like you're talking to that client, you know? Your story with Publix, like you start sweating, you feel it, you know what it would feel like to be in that situation. And I think, you know, to share the Publix story right now would be just way too much for them. They can't even handle that. So we're not even going to do that now. Just kidding. But, you know, talking about Granny, we call my mom Granny and Papa. She was the opposite of most spouses in the beginning. She totally 100% supported you. And at times when you thought that you wanted to quit, she said, heck no, you know, this is the man that I married, right? And this is who I believe that you're going to become, which sometimes we know that we run into obstacles with negative family members, right? Thankfully in our family, you know, you were able to sell us the dream for so early on that it didn't matter when you were 4 hours late picking us up from school, you know?
Oh, great.
And so somebody had a great question. How do you stay positive when family and friends and acquaintances are being very negative?
Oh, it's like the question of all questions. Do you know that 80% of people are negative and 20% are positive? That's the first thing you got to realize. So what are the odds that everyone in your family is going to be positive? They're not. You know, my brother Tim was so negative about this whole thing. I'm telling you, he was so negative. So you know what I learned to do? Disconnect from my brother. You see, people's words don't hurt you unless they get to your heart. Is everybody catching this? So if someone says, you know, to Becky's daughter, Sophia, hey, you know what? You're stupid and you're ugly. Now, that doesn't affect Sophia if she's strong-willed and goes like, yo, yeah, drop that, right? But if she comes home and says, looks in the mirror and says, wow, I really am ugly, and I really got a C on that last test, then she permitted those bad negative words to get in her heart, and now she owns those bad words. So my first point to you is you've got to learn with negative family and negative friends and acquaintances, you got to learn to disconnect from them so that it can't get there. And I'll give you an example. My mother had a master's degree in worrying. So when I got in a business and I told her, Mom, this rich man, Art Williams, he really seems to see something in me. And then she got so worried and she said, Greg, what if you were to write up a sale on somebody and then they lost all their money and then they lost their house because they couldn't pay their mortgage? I mean, what would happen? I say, Mom, stop it. Because see, the messenger leaves, but the message lingers. So I learned to love my mother, but I disconnected from her worry. I learned to love my brother Tim, but I disconnected from his negativity. So I've learned in life to love people, but I disconnect from them so that but I also learned this, don't hang around with them because the messenger leaves, but the message lingers. See, you could be riding high right now, right, Blanca? And then some negative family member says, you know what? That Albert guy's just making money off you. Can't you see it? See, now that doesn't bother her today, but now she has 5 canceled appointments. Things are going bad. Things start to get in her head. So we've all got to get better at learning to deal with people and disconnect from them because you cannot let negative words get in your heart. That's why the scripture says, right? Don't ever go to bed angry with your spouse because that anger will start to grow like a seed and the enemy can now use it. You see, this is why I'm always forgiving people because you cannot permit negative things inside your, that's why I had a lot of negative emotional addictions. So that's really one of my secrets is I love everybody on my team, but I know which ones are negative. So when they talk to me, I love them. I disconnect from them and I usually end it with a prayer. And as soon as I hang up the phone, I can't think about them anymore because I just told Becky, someone on my side yesterday, they called me, they were suicidal. They were, you know, they just couldn't handle being at home and I had to pray with them and I had to help overcome it. But you know what? Let's say something bad happened to me at 5 to 11 this morning. I can't afford to have all of you who say, wow, Greg Kapp's always positive. See, I got to learn to control my emotions. You know what I mean? I have to learn to say, look, I'm going to deal with this later. I mean, it would happen like, you know, my daughter Beth was real sick and I was at a big event and Tina texted me and I said, okay, Lord, I know you're taking care of our daughter right now. Honey, I know you're taking care of her. And I dealt with it. I disconnected from it. And then as soon as I got home, I was on top of it right away. It's something that all successful people learn to do. Because if negative people can get to you now, they're going to get to you the rest of your career. So, but just remember, if this is why I like the, you know what they said, Becky, at the Macy's? They said, we don't hire people and teach them how to be nice. We only hire nice people. You see the point? I look for people skills in people early is one of the qualities I look for. Guess what the CEO of Toyota said once? He said, if people need training, give it to them. If people lack people skills, get rid of them. You see, companies know that whoever's representing you, man, try to get some. That's why you should ask you, who's the most positive person you know? All right.
All right, 2 more questions. Who's enjoying this? Raise your hand. Who's fired up? You got time for 2 more questions, Pappa?
I do.
All righty. What, in your opinion, is the most important step of the 6-step system?
Man, I know Rags knows. I know Stokesy knows. I know Shrey knows. It's step 2. Step 2 is what? Approach contact. Most people avoid it because it has rejection in it. It's getting your people off to a fast start. My mentor said, Greg, because I was kind of scared because I wasn't very technical and I couldn't remember a lot of technical things about products. I thought that was my weakness. And he said, Greg, if you master step 2, approach contact, you're going to pass up most of the people in the company. I didn't believe that when he told me that. But you know what? I became the MVP of the entire company in 1999 out of like 40,000 agents. How? I mastered approach contact. Because that's what kept me in a warm market. See, our product is phenomenal if you're in a warm market. It's like selling Girl Scout cookies to an ant. But if you're in a cold market, our product is very hard to sell. This goes back to what I said about why do they pay so much money out? Why do you, when you write up $100 a week IUL, get paid $2,500 as a part-timer and $3,500 as an SMD? Because in the traditional life insurance industry, you got to make 200 phone calls to maybe get 5 appointments, and then half of them cancel, and maybe you'll be lucky enough to make a sale. Does everybody hear me? That's why they got to pay out so much. But here, I was writing up 95 to 100% of everyone I met because I was always talking to the best friend of the best friend. See, if we're not doing it, we're missing the whole system, and it's all in that second step. But it's easy to call someone's best friend. You all know how to make a best friend at a party, right? So you're at my party at my house, and then you meet this person, you say, how do you know Greg? The guy goes, well, I live two houses away. And he goes, and then you go like, oh yeah, must be something else living with Greg Kapp. Why he's so quiet, right? The guy goes, oh yeah, this guy's always on fire. So you made a friend. In how long? 2 minutes. Because you borrowed a relationship. That's what step 2 means. How good are you at borrowed relationship? That's why whenever my family was out, they go, oh no, here he goes again, talking to someone at the bakery. Oh, there he goes again, talking to the guy at the gas station. I wasn't trying to sell or recruit him. I was practicing connecting with people and trying to find out what I could say about them that was interesting to hold them in a conversation. Because when I talk about me, nobody cares. When I talk about them, they say, wow, that Greg is a great conversationalist. Step 2, Becky, it's step 2. And if you don't learn to master it, someone else on this call is going to, and I'm going to give them all my time because they're all like my children. So I'm going to take it away from my own daughter. If you don't get good at 2, because you're pretty good at it, but if you don't get good at it, I'm going to help somebody in Tennessee or somebody up there in Jersey, somebody in Wisconsin, whoever wants to really master that step. And they show me by their results, you're going to get a lot of my time because I spend 90% of my time with my top 10% of people. That's what I have to do. I got to look for results. That's my job. I'm almost 69 years old. I want to pass on all this stuff I know about human nature, but I'm looking for the results. Next, last question.
That was awesome. You know, approaching contact, it's so funny because now thinking back, when we travel together or we let's say we're going on a trip and we rent someone to come and a driver, right? And before we even get in the car, Papa will say, I'm sitting in the front and I'm going to recruit this guy, right? And we're like this. And, you know, it's kind of fun. It's funny. But yeah, because we live our life that way, right? It's a lifestyle of how we approach and contact people. And it's a true blessing to be able to have grown up in that. So thinking about this, my dad has I have to read the stats here. 4 people making over $1 million a year, 2 making over $2 million a year, 1 making over $4 million, 1 making over $5 million, and 1 making over $6 million a year. And he hasn't had a base shop in almost 20 years. I just think that's crazy, right? And that's all without Zoom, right? And you heard his video. He believes that the time is now, right? What would be the top 3 to 5 qualities that you find that your top income earners all have, and share?
You know, number 1 is desire. Why do I say that? Because the opposite of desire is fear. See, desire is seeing something you want, that car, and you really want it, that house, you really want it, that vacation, you really want. So desire is the ability to see what you want, where fear is seeing things you don't want. In other words, worrying what people think. That's fear. So I try to find quickly who has desire and who has fear, and I do that by finding out who can make appointments quickly for me. You see why? Because see, a sharp person would, you know, like I call it a street person, right? Because, you know, I wasn't a street person, right? But I learned to be a street person. So this is what a dorky kid asks his mother if he wants to get an appointment with her. He goes, Mom, I started a part-time business. Oh, that's good, son. What is it? Well, it's insurance, annuities, mutual funds. And my mentor wants to come over tonight at 7. Well, I really have all my finances taken care of. I'm sorry. I can't do it. See, that's the honest, non-street kid. You know what the street kid says? Mom, I know you love me, right? I do, son. And I know you would support me, right? If I wanted to better myself. Absolutely. Well, you know what? I got a new business going. You do? Yeah, it's just something part-time. And I want you to meet my mentor tonight. He's going to come over at 7. Well, what's he going to talk to me about? It doesn't matter, Mom. You just said that you love me. You just said that you would support me. You don't have to buy anything from the guy. He's just coming at 7. He's going to leave at 7:30. So I know you're going to do it for me, Mom. Do you see the difference? So the people that could set up appointments for me, I knew that they had desire. That's the first thing. The next thing I look for is people skills. Because people who have bad people skills offend everyone they talk to. So when I would call somebody for someone with bad people skills, they'd be real hedgy on the phone with me. So I look right away, do they have good people? Now, I had to learn people skills. Jeff Levitan had to learn people skills. Eric Olson had to learn people skills. Rob, they had to learn them, but we learned them quickly. And so when you're hanging around with someone with good people skills, you go like this, right? Like that's what all the girls at the salon would do with Becky, because Becky would talk like this to the women. And she, you know, they'd say, you know, my husband, he doesn't listen to me, Becky. And she goes, tell me about it. Jesse never listens to me. See, they learn like, oh, that's how Becky has good people skills. She finds their opinion, then she makes it her opinion. That was a deep one right there, worth a couple $100,000. So people skills are the next thing that I look for in people. And then I'm always looking for someone that's coachable, right? So right away when I say, look, this is what I want you to do. I want you to get me in front of, you know, 5, 10 people this week. And then you're going to learn more each week that we're together. Those are probably the top 3 things I look for is desire. And I learned that quickly, you know, and here's the thing. When people have fear, I distance myself from people who have fear on my team, because people with fear keep attracting what they don't want. This is deep right here. People who have fear continue to attract what they don't want. People with desire attract what they do want. And we've got to learn quickly to separate people on our teams. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to have an adult daycare center when I'm running a business and people keep telling me all about their problems. You know, my daughter Becky never brings me a problem. It's one of the reasons I love her. She never brings me a problem. She's a leader. But most of you are like that. Blanca's never told me one problem. Armand's never told me a problem. I know he's got issues. Albert never brings me a problem. That's why we love him so much. Trey never brings me a problem. Deanna never brought me one. Tom and Gary don't. Ginger, the Stokeses don't. Why is that? Because leaders don't bring their problems. Now, every one of them knows if they had a major problem right now, I'd be with them on the phone praying about it, coming up with a solution. All right. That's it.
Awesome.
We're done.
That
I got 5 more. I got 5 more Zoomers to do today, and I love it. And I love all of you guys. I know you're all working hard. I know you're all trying hard, right? And I know that about each one of you. And I know every one of your skills. The ones of you that are on this call that have been around for more than 3 years, I know all of the different strengths that you got. And I'm telling you right now, that video I made, you should play it every morning to remind yourself what a historic moment you are. Because that Amazon picture proves that he didn't know it back then. But I'm telling you, I know what's going to happen. There's not one financial services company in the world that knows what we're doing right now with people. And they can't transition fast enough because they don't let people make unlimited amounts of money. So think about MetLife is worth $1 trillion, but they don't have a force like we got going here that's multiplying quickly. Jeff and I are recruiting more people per month now than we ever did in our past. I mean, Eric Olson's going to have 2,000 recruits this month. Jamie's going to have 1,000 recruits this month. We never had it like that before. So I just want you to know you're in the right place. You got to be perfect? No. But I'm going to ask you to do this. Be careful who you're hanging around with in the future, right? Don't hang around with small-minded people because they'll steal your joy, right? And work on yourself. Fall in love with yourself, right? Don't say to yourself, I would love myself if I lost 10 pounds. That's wrong. I would love myself if I got a $100,000 ring. That's wrong. See, I learned to love myself when I was broke. So by the time I saw Gary Ziegler, he was like, wow, this Greg guy is a leader, right? I loved myself when I was broke. So by the time I met Gary, he said, wow, this guy is a real leader here. And then here's the thing, forget about your past. It doesn't matter. I had a really wicked past, right? 22 grand in my 5th year, but Levitan didn't know that when he met me. So don't let your past enter your present and rob you of your great future. And don't see yourself the way your parents saw you. See, that was my mistake. My father was very critical. My mother was a worrywart. And so I'm saying to all of you, work on yourself every day. And I would say to you, see yourself the way God sees you because he created you. And God don't make no junk. Now, some of the stuff you developed came to you, the fear, the worry, the doubt, right, the insecurity. But I'm telling you, I don't want to see people come in 6 months from now and make more money than any one of you that I know real well. That would break my heart. You went through the tough times, but this is not like anything before. So have amnesia about your past and welcome to your future. And know that I pray for every one of you every day for a couple hours and say this in the shower every morning. I believe I receive what Greg Kapp prays for me this day because I pray Ephesians over you, Colossians over you. I pray that no weapon can be formed against you. I pray for you, not because I have to, because I love doing it. And you know what? I'm dropping the mic, Becky. Great job today.
Awesome. Can we give Pappa a big boosh boom? I'm going to unmute you all.
You Greg, appreciate you, man.
The reality of it.
Earlier in the talk,
I mean,
That's all right.
thanks for all coming to the Zoom room.
Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining. Thanks, Becky, again. And we'll see all you guys.
Thank you.